G'day campers and welcome back to another Thursday night live around the campfire. Tonight's conversation is a really important one for me. I've been a part of the building industry for over 27 years and it's something that I'm passionate about, something that I've really enjoyed being a part of. And if you speak to any builder, they think they're crazy doing what they do, but they keep doing it. And there's a reason for that. It's because they take great pride in the projects they finished. And there's nothing like driving around the suburbs, going past a house and going, you know what? I built that. I did the swimming pool there. I did that there. It's a great sense of pride with that. So the building industry at the moment, it's not overly stable. There's a lot of opportunities. And I've brought in a good mate, Mick Hawes, to come in and have a conversation tonight about this because it's something that I think we all need to be aware of and something we all need to discuss. A little disclaimer before we start. I do a bit of work with Mick. I help with the emotional fitness of some of his builders. And we're having great success with that. And so tonight I thought it would be an amazing opportunity to talk about an industry that's in a bit of trouble. So g'day, Mick. How are you, mate?
Excellent.
Giddy up. So talk to me. Tell me what, or share with everybody here what you do.
I run a business coaching company called Builders Business Black Belt that specifically has a niche in the custom home building space. Our sort of ideal client is a husband and wife run custom home building business. Having said that, we've got electrical businesses, we've got building designer, we've got solopreneurs, we've got business partners, all of that. But the big chunk of our membership is husband and wife run building businesses. I'm not sure why we chose that. Julie, my wife, and myself have been working together running our own business for over 30 years. So we kind of know the foibles that need to be dealt with when you're working with your spouse. So you're basically with them 24/7. But I don't know. We just have great fun with our husband and wife partnerships. There's something special about it, and there's something special about working with builders. Full stop, because in my world, they really do contribute significantly more than what most people give them credit for as far as our experience. They build the environments where our families get together or don't. They create experiences that are one of the sort of potentially top 3 decisions and experiences that people will have in their lives. You'll get married and you might have children. They're probably up there. But building a house or a major renovation or an extension or whatever, it's pretty major. Like, it's big chunks of change, lots of big decisions, and there are just far, far too many horror stories in the building industry for both the builders and the clients. And that's really our mission, is to affect in a positive way the building industry, because there is so much unnecessary pain being experienced by builders, the sub-trades, and the clients. And I underline the word unnecessary. Like, most of this stuff doesn't have to happen, and that's what we're here to combat.
Yeah, and I appreciate that, because that's exactly what this conversation is about. Because with current situations in the building industry, there's builders taking their own life. There's businesses being liquidated left, right, and centre. There's pressure on families, tradies, suppliers, supply. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about the fears and frustrations. What are the fears and frustrations that you're seeing at the minute?
Right now, and it's kind of the current thing is the meat in the sandwich experience that many builders are experiencing, because the marketplace is trying to get the best value. Obviously, people make decisions based on value, and when they're communicating with a builder, they really don't want to risk doing a do and charge for the most part. They really want a fixed price quote, and because of the issues created by COVID with the supply chain, demand's high, supply is low, prices are going up, and sometimes a quote or a price isn't relevant 6 to 12 weeks after it was given. And what I find quite distressing is that the way the legal system is currently set up, the builder is the meat in the sandwich. Once they sign that fixed price quote, and they've gotten a price from a supplier, and it's even sometimes I'm hearing it happening with sub trades as well. They're getting the price off them, putting it all together, signing the contract with the client, and then the suppliers go, oh no, it's more than that now. And some sub trades are now doing that as well, which I think is, that is going to bite people in the arse. What we need to do is start to come together and work as teams and support each other, because currently the poor old builder, he's the meat in the sandwich, and some of the sub trades are going, oh no, it's going to cost more now, or the suppliers are going to go, oh no, it's going to cost more now. But the worm will turn. Make no mistake, and mark my words, things will change, and supply and demand will flip. And at some stage in the future, these sub trades that are squeezing the builders and the suppliers that are squeezing the builders are going to come begging with their hat in their hand, because builders, there's getting less and less builders, but there will also be less and less building projects because of the rising interest rates, and a bunch of other reasons as well. And so there will be less projects as opposed to what there are now. And I can feel it coming. I hope it doesn't happen. But what I suspect is going to happen is now there's going to be, when this happens, there's going to be a race to the bottom. It's going to be all of this bullshit price chopping, doing it the cheapest, discounting, and builders aren't making money now. Yeah. And a lot of trades-based businesses aren't making money now. So if they start to discount to get the work, because the work is going to start to be more scarce than it is now, we get to this race to the bottom thing by people undercutting each other. We need to work together, guys. It's ridiculous.
Well, let's talk about that. Working together. What does it look like? I know that your builders that come from all around Australia come together and share information, grow together, and really put their situations on the table. And what happens with that is people learn. But I'll let you explain that.
Well, the philosophy that we have with our builders business black belt, number one, is we need to understand that the builder's product is not the building at the end of the driveway. It's not the extension. It's not the renovation. It's not the new house. It is the experience that your client has. And don't get confused with you thinking that you're delivering a lot of value because you built this thing and it's really high quality, amazing workmanship and all that sort of stuff. That is an expectation by the client. So it's not a feature, it's not a benefit, it is an expectation. But the experience that they have is the product. There was a wonderful quote, I've seen it many, many times, but it just happened to turn up in my Facebook feed again yesterday. I really need to remember who the quote was by because I've heard it so much. But it basically says, they won't remember what you said, they won't remember what you did, they will remember how you made them feel. And all day, every day in Black Belt, we talk about the processes, the procedures, the communication skills within your business, not only by the business owner, but by or with the team. And when I talk about team, I include the subcontractors in that team. I also include the suppliers in that team. So everybody who has something to do with this project is part of the team. And when everybody gets to understand that the product for everybody is how we make the client feel, everybody's going to win. Everybody's going to win. But what's happening right now is the supplier is in their silo. The sub-trade, the electrician, the plumber is in their silo. And fair enough, I get it. They're looking out for themselves. They're looking after themselves. But just like a peloton in a push bike race, we will be able to go further and faster if we get together and we take it in turns riding at the front. Or we learn that lessons from geese. You know, geese fly in a V formation and the blokes at the back honk encouragement to the dude at the front. But from a physics point of view, a flock of geese in a V formation can travel 70% further on the same amount of energy than an individual goose. So don't be a goose. We need to get in a flock and we need to take it in turns at the front. And when you're not the front, you need to be encouraging. And they're the philosophies that we base the black belt conversations on. And we're just really trying to get that message out to more and more people, because if you remain in your silo, it's very, very difficult. You know, you become that solo cyclist. You become that lone goose. It just takes so much more energy. You have so many more problems. You make less money. You have less time to yourself. You work more stress. If we come together as a team and understand what our purpose is and communicate and work together as a team on these projects, everyone's going to profit more. Everyone's going to enjoy what they do more.
Basically a better experience for absolutely everybody involved in the project.
100%.
You know, and go.
Well, I was just about to say, you know, over the years, and we don't really do Facebook anymore. You know, don't get me started as to why, but we will probably talk about the app that we fired up at the start of this year or right at the end of last year, because I just wasn't feeling it with Facebook and all of the issues with them. But when we were posting on Facebook, particularly in the public pages and what have you, we would get fairly regular comments, you know, you need to pull your head in. What do you know? You're not even a builder. No one will pay for a quote. Everyone's, you know, making decisions based on price and all that. And we don't believe any of that in Black Belt. And, you know, they're right. I am not a builder. Jury's out as to whether I know what I'm doing. I'm going to leave that up to, you know, my reputation is none of my business. You know, that's everybody else's opinion. But the feedback that I get from people that have had that mindset shift, that our product is how we make our prospects and our clients feel, and spread that philosophy and that culture within the team, with their business, the results are the results, and they're undeniable. You know, Matt, who you'd know down at the end of the Great Ocean Road, he was saying just the other day that he's had 15 in a row paid proposals. And, you know, you get screamed at in Facebook saying you don't know what you're doing. No one will ever, you'll go broke if you don't do a free quote. You won't get the job if you don't do a free quote. And it's just not true. And the beauty of this is the builder loves it, but the client loves it. And the client gets so much better value when the builder goes through this process and spends the time preparing a professional proposal, and the client is invested in it. It makes a big difference.
Well, it's a win-win scenario. The client gets the correct detail, the builder gets paid, the client gets it on time because the builder's got, well, hang on a sec, I'm actually getting paid to do this. So the mindset is so different from a builder that you're not waiting for things. He wants it. He wants the money. Do you know what I mean? Which is something really important. So let's open that up, right? Paid proposals, because, you did get knocked around a bit for it, and you're getting guys that are doing it consistently. Matty's getting 15 paid proposals in a row. Let's break down why it's so important. Let's break it right down.
My personal opinion on it is it's so important because it's about trust. It's about that connection. And, you know, to give you the long version of this,
yeah,
the reason why I chose builders as a niche is because, you know, I've been in the building game as a sub trade. My dad was a builder. He was more in the commercial space with schools and what have you, but I've just always been in and around building. And, you know, after a while, after I was sort of in the business coaching space and I knew I needed to niche, the thing that drove me towards builders was I wanted to work in a space where customers were driven to the business that I was coaching because of a want, not a need. And so what I basically did is I got on Google and found the type of every small business that there was on the planet. Apparently there's about 2,400 different types of small businesses, you know, butcher, baker, candlestick maker, that sort of thing. And there's less than 50 that I found where their customers are compelled to reach out to that business because they want to rather than they need to. And no offense to your electricians or your plumbers, but the people ring the plumber because their crapper's blocked and they have to call them. They don't go, hey, let's get the plumber around, you know. But there is a desire for this new renovation, this extension or this new home. And so they call a builder because they want to, not because they have to. And relationships are really, really important. And the what we talk about all day long is how do we build that trust and how do we get the client, well, at the early stages, the prospect on board with complete transparency, openness, and really high levels of trust in the beginning. And so there is a whole process that we teach our guys to be able to build that trust. And the last hurdle that the prospect needs to get over before they come together and decide to work on this project is the prospect needs to believe and trust in the builder to the point where they're prepared to pay them for what they traditionally thought was free. But there's a bit more to it than that. You can't just treat the customer the same way as you used to and give them the same thing as you used to for free and then charge for it. There is a process that you go through where you've really got to deliver significant value and separate yourself from the standard garden variety process that most people go through. But to me, it's just fundamentally flawed. It's such a destructive practice doing stuff for free because there's this massive time soak for the builders. They're already under pressure. They're already doing, 10, 12 hours on site, driving around, doing all of this sort of stuff, come home, inhale a bit of dinner with the kids, and then they're back in the office and they're trying to figure out this quote that they're not even sure whether they're going to get, which puts them under both emotional and financial stress. And they're doing it at 11 o'clock at night after they're stuffed anyway. Like, what are the chances that it's going to be high quality and well thought out and everything's thought of? Whereas if you're being paid for it at the appropriate rate, you can schedule that into your workday. It's part of what you do. You're being paid for it. And you can do a much, much better job.
Well, there's something I want to grab there about the emotional state, mainly because that interests me greatly. The emotional state of your builder is so important in your build. If you're not open and for lack of better words, clear. No, it's a very good word. Very clear in your head. You can't focus clearly. Therefore, your product isn't going to come out as well. Doing a quotation at 11 o'clock at night or in the evening, trying to get that out with all these other stresses going on at the minute, I can't imagine you'd be getting the best effort in that, let alone putting together the best quality build. Then there comes
the other part of that is I believe that the big majority of builders that are doing that free quote, their mindset is, I need to be price competitive. Whereas if you've already started the conversation and the relationship with your prospect based on value and really what represents massive value, and I know we're getting a little bit deep here, but I believe that the thing that is the most valuable thing that you can give another person is to have that person totally feel that you understand their fears, frustrations, wants, and aspirations from their point of view.
Yep.
So the builder's job is to listen, not to talk, not to tell, but to listen and understand what that client wants. And it's not about what size, what color, how many floors, what sort of bricks do you want. It's what is the purpose of this thing? What's the emotional driver behind it? What's the problem it's solving? What is the dream it's delivering? And have that person really understand or feel that you completely understand it. That's what represents massive value. That's what builds incredible connection, rapport, and trust. And the reality is the customers don't make decisions based on price. They make decisions based on value. And there is nothing more valuable than this feeling of being understood by someone who you really need to trust. You need their guidance, you need their support, and you need their protection. And if you are prepared to open up, if you're the customer and you're prepared to open up your soft underbelly to, and expose it to another person who has got the skills and the knowledge that can help you get what you want, that's the best partnership. So, it's all about value, not about price. And the guy that's there at 11 o'clock at night is thinking, I need this work, so I need to be price competitive. So they're chopping the guts out of everything to try and get it as cheap as possible. Things are being left out. PC items are being put in. They may get the job, but then it all starts to turn to custard after a while when they have to start to add variations to the price, and then the customer hates them at the end of it.
Well, that's a big thing at the minute because the prices are going through the roof. Variations are coming left, right, and center.
Yeah.
Communication's key.
Yeah.
So we've looked at the start of the process. We've looked at how your guys are getting paid proposals, and I love it. And I've been witness to it. I've done them myself, and just makes you feel so much better. But also you add so much more value into those proposals when you do it. Like I know myself when we were putting them forward, we'd gone from just a nice proposal to really putting in some great pictures, really understanding their needs, presenting the dream to them. And it just made such a significant difference. A, to the trust, B, to the understanding of the project, not just for myself, but for all the sub-trades. All the sub-trades could see the opportunity. They could feel the connection we had, and that connection going through the entire project is so important. So let's talk about communication, because I feel that's one thing that, especially in the Campfire Project, I mean, Alan, who founded it, communication specialist, that's what it's about. It's about knowing each other better so that we can grow together, so we can understand each other. And that doesn't just start with the customer. Obviously it does start with the customer, but your team around you, it's so damn important that you have clear communication and a willingness to understand their needs.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to dive into that a little bit with us?
Yeah, absolutely. And one extra thing I'd add to it, there's communication with prospects and customers and team and suppliers and blah, blah. But there's also your internal communication. And it's equally, if not probably more important, to really understand yourself, what your purpose is, what your values are, and be able to live true to what you believe. And what, I just before we got on, I just watched Hacksaw Ridge for the last, for the third time, I think. And Desmond Doss, whatever his name was, went through that whole thing and joining the army and wouldn't touch a gun and all of that. And he just got beat up because of it and ended up become a hero and pulled 75 guys off Hacksaw Ridge. And it's just inspirational, but you've got to know what your purpose is, what your priorities are, what your values are. And your business has to have that as well. That needs to be communicated to the team. And also you need to have a vision for your team. I quite often ask, just as a bit of a poll question, which human component of a business contributes to the success the most? Is it the customer, the team, or the business owner? And almost every time the majority of the people say, well, you idiot, the customer. Like, if you don't have a customer, you don't have a business. And I get that, but the customer isn't the greatest contributor to the success of a business. And it's not the team either. It's the business owner. We've got to look after ourselves. We've got to get the right rest. We've got to get the right input. We've got to get the right fuel. We've got to look after ourselves mentally and emotionally so we can be a great example for the team. And then we need to nurture and support the team and understand the team, have a vision for the team. And I mean, wouldn't it be great to have a team? And when I say wouldn't it be great, I already know it happens, that your team members are excited on Monday morning and a little sad on Friday afternoon, instead of the opposite way around, which is the way it is for most people. But if you can have great communication and support your team members and they really feel appreciated, they feel acknowledged, they feel that they are contributing to something worthwhile, everything changes. And particularly if you communicate what your product is and have them contributing to the improvement of your product, which is how do we make our clients feel.
So I'm going to grab that a bit because it's something right there that in the building industry, tradies, young fellas, they're there just to make money, and don't worry, they're making good money at the minute. And so they go out, no real purpose, work hard all week, get to Friday, giddy up, tools down, we're getting on it. There's no attachment to the job. They go all weekend, come Sunday, absolute mess. Monday, come to work. That's how they front up. I was no different. That's how I didn't have my headspace.
No, I know. I remember the first time I met you, I was told a story that you had to be pulled out of a pool excavation by an excavator because you couldn't climb out. How things have changed.
That is only a rumour, Mick Hawes. Mind you, I did do a half Ironman the day before.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got down in and couldn't get out. But it's for me, that's a positive step. I'm doing something, although I could have trained a bit harder. I was learning more about myself and learning more about my personal growth. And I think now is a good time to actually talk about that, because the internal conversation that you have is so important to every aspect of your life. whether or not you're present for your kids. If you're busy, like you go to work and to provide for your family, then you come home and you got nothing left to give to your family.
Yeah.
That's why you're going to work.
Yeah.
You know, it's okay for a little bit. It's okay to go and, you know, like sometimes you got to get things done, right? You got to, but your priorities were the kids, and you're not delivering that. So how can you do that? How can you set your headspace about that? And it's a little promo as such. Like tonight is about the building industry and doing things differently, but it's also about the conversations inside the construction, because the conversations in construction all start from up here. Mindset's everything. And I know that's something that you're so damn passionate about. Do share.
About 30 years ago, when I first started my own business, over 30 years ago, the only thing that we talked about was mindset. And we used to have a 3.5-hour workshop. It was our only product, if you like. And it was all about your input determines your output. It was called Coach Any Dummy to Succeed, Even Yourself. And all we talked about for 3.5 hours once a month in this seminar was your input determines your output. And we would run through scenarios, and it was completely focused on personal development, and people would come to that workshop. I think that they would come to it multiple times, which was like quite amazing. They needed a medal for showing up so often. I think the record was something like 25 times. We used to do it once a month, and one guy I remember came 25 times in a row without a miss to the same workshop that had the same jokes with the same punchlines in the same spot, and he was gracious enough to laugh at the right place every time. But it was all about your mindset. And then we digressed, and I got into elite sports and started coaching tennis players and golfers and cricketers and race car drivers and what have you, and then got into business coaching. And then here we are at Builders Business Black Belt, and just recently had the blinding flash of the obvious that we got so sucked into the whole business coaching approach with the procedures and the systems and the quality client pathway and how to manage your money and how to manage your team and all of that sort of stuff. And every so often we'd touch on mindset, whereas that's all we used to do. That it was that important to me. That's all we used to do. And that led to a discussion between you and I, where we decided in Black Belt to create a space called A Safe Place to Land, because, and this blew me away, I just didn't realize how much mental illness there was in the building industry.
Yeah.
And it's really well hidden. Like there are guys that we both know together, no names mentioned, that I didn't realize, I didn't know, but they were on medication for all sorts of depression and this, that, and the other. And you just wouldn't know it talking to them. But then bang, they'd go absent without leave, and when you catch up with them, they've just been in a really, really dark place. And we just weren't addressing that. And I've always believed the business will never be right until the owner is right. And so we decided to create an environment where just men at this stage in Black Belt, because the ladies have got their own group, Secret Woman's Business. I don't even know what they talk about in there. I'm not allowed in there. And I don't show up to the Safe Place to Land either, but we're creating an environment where guys can talk about stuff that there is no other environment for them to talk about it, and get support and get heard and get listened to and support each other and all of that. And it's amazing. And it changes things, because all of the best coaching in the world, how to do paid proposals and how to get a better team and how to manage your money and all of that sort of stuff is worthless if you're under that much pressure, emotional and mental pressure, that you can hardly think. And here's the kicker was that I realized that I was contributing in a negative way with what we're doing in Builders Business Black Belt, because I'm saying you need to do this and you need to show up and you need to engage and you need to participate and implement this stuff. That's the thing that's going to change. And they're not doing it. And I'm adding to the pain and the pressure because they feel bad because they're not doing it. And I'm jumping up and down saying, you need to be doing this. And so I had an epiphany. I think in a big part because of the conversations with you, that we need to look after that first. We need to look after and support that mental illness, or not the mental illness, but the emotional challenges that people have, and give them a space to deal with those first. Because when they're a bit more on a level playing field and they're not so under pressure with these emotional challenges, they're more likely to implement the stuff.
Yeah, well, it's occupying the forefront of every thought. And one of the things that I love about the business of smiles, about, you know, what we're doing in Business Builders Black Belt, is the fact that we're just listening, you know, and it's quite often we don't have to have a solution. It's just an understanding and asking questions to get it into a little bit deeper than what we normally go, so we can understand it a bit more. Because when we're in curiosity, we're no longer in pain. Curiosity creates the opportunity to get a better, deeper understanding about any situation. Therefore, we can find different solutions. And when we're around other people that have the same mindset, that are looking for growth, a growth mindset, then the opportunities are just exponential, I think. But it's so important, right? Because it's also that mirror. And this is something else I really want to dive into, because your circle of influence, right? Your circle of influence is it. I know myself, when you very first taught me that your circle of influence is, you know, you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. I bailed. I looked around and went, okay, I love my mates, but I need 5 newies. Do you know what I mean? So,
Yep.
And even to the point where if you have someone inside your circle that's not pulling their weight completely, or having a really bad time, if you're not working together around that to support that person, that one person can bring down the whole history of of people in your group. So knowing and understanding that, having a support network and having an opportunity to grow with each other is so damn important. You know. And do you want to open that up?
Oh, well, it just reminded me of, just before we got on, I was just reading a few comments from some people inside the Tool Shed, which is our replacement app. We don't do Facebook groups anymore. We created this Tool Shed. And another Mick, obviously a smart fella with that name, put a post in just about financial management. And I was just watching all of the comments, the conversations in between these builders about that. And it's one of my favorite parts of doing this, is seeing how people I originally thought would hold their cards close to their chest and would be sort of opposing each other, because, you know, many people in many industries have this zero-sum thinking that if you take a slice of the pie, there's less for me. And it's just not the case. It's just not the case. And what happens is this synergistic outcome happens where, Stephen Covey says 1 + 1 = 3 or more. That's synergy. Like, it doesn't make sense logically in maths, but when these builders come together and start to help each other, their progress is just lightning fast. And I know that from having been a one-on-one business coach to being in this community type coaching arrangement. I just know that the people in the group coaching are improving their business at a rate of somewhere between 4 and 6 times faster than the clients that we had when I was a one-on-one. So I just spoke to you. That was it. It was just this standard garden variety one-on-one stuff. Yep. And there's no way in the wide world that I'm 4 to 6 times better than I was back then. I'm just not. I might be slightly better, but it's the community. It's when you can be in that environment where people understand you, support you, hold you to a higher standard, and ride like a peloton or a flock of geese and share their resources. And I said to the gang, the Blueprint gang today, please just make one mistake each. Come back and share, instead of this. The standard way that we do it is everybody makes the same dumb mistakes each.
Yeah.
Right? They make 10 mistakes. Imagine making 10 mistakes, the price you've got to pay for making 10 mistakes, versus we'll just do one each. Come back with the lessons and go, well, I won't have to do those other 9 now because I know how to avoid it. I know how to fix it. I can go further faster by being part of a community like the Campfire Project, like the Business of Smiles. Being in a community is wicked.
Yeah, massive on communities, and like it's even the cold water crazies that I adore these days. There were just a bunch of amazing women who go out in the ocean every morning, and it's that community, the strength in that community, the support in that community, the way they grow together, what they can achieve together. That's the outstanding things that happen when you're a part of a community. Yeah, and you talked earlier about pie. Everyone taking their piece of pie away, and one of the things that I'm massive on, and it's sometimes possibly to my detriment, is about everybody getting their piece of the pie, coming together, sitting down at the table to eat the pie, because that's where the conversations will happen, that we all grow. But we've got to get everybody to the table, and I feel. Right now, more than ever in the building industry, that's something that needs to happen. Like I know suppliers that had 60-day terms have panicked and they've gone 30-day terms, more pressure on builders.
Yep.
The guys that are wearing it consistently are the builders.
Yep.
There's been some significant meetings. The banks are holding up payments on builders. Here's the thing. You crush the builder, you're crushing a family's dreams. You're crushing the builder's family. You're crushing your community that builder's in.
Yep.
You're crushing the trades. Those trades are in your community. You trust the suppliers. If their heads aren't in the game of life, what happens? We all
and not
suffer.
To mention the families that are standing there that have paid out a chunk of change and have got half a house, and no one will touch it to finish it. Like the pain throughout is massive and unnecessary.
When Platinum Swimming Pools was liquidated, it's possibly one of the most painful things I've been through. To front up and deal with that. It has taken me so long to get my headspace to actually want to be back in business. Because I really cared about what we did for our clients. I really cared about the product we produced. I really cared about the tradesmen that worked with us. I'm grateful that we did end up not owing any tradies money. We worked hard to get that to that point. but the toll it's taken on myself and my family is so significant. And that's what, not only that, I lost my best mate through it.
Yeah.
Now I don't, well,
and just so everyone realizes, he's still alive.
yeah. No, he is. Yeah, definitely still alive. but I really miss him.
Yeah.
You know, he's my best mate. And because of the communication that we couldn't have, I don't have him in my life. He's the godfather of my son. You know, and no money can bring that back. You know, and I hope one day that's okay. You know, like it wasn't. It's just hard to face it. You know, like I'm these, and we're just talking about what happens at the moment when these things happen, and inevitably things happen in life, and things happen out of our control that, you know, can definitely change circumstances. But the impact of this is huge. That's why it's so important to get together, learn how to communicate better, have a better mindset so you can have conversations. Learn how to sit in amongst other men to have conversations so that you can go home to your wife and have conversations. You know, like we're constantly inside the Campfire Project, we take on some big subjects. And we take them on with the whole view of we together, right? We together are going to learn each other. We together are going to open up opportunities so we understand each other better, so that we grow together. And it's happened. The amount of stuff that's happened out of the Campfire Project, Lisa Jane and Caroline, all these different projects that are happening because of it. And it's just amazing. So imagine what it'd be like if builders worked together more, you know, supported each other more, less of a competition, more of a collaboration, you know. And I think that should happen in amongst the trades. And I'm going to go a bit sideways now because I'm going to start talking about the tradies, right? Because that's an interesting opportunity at the moment. How well do they actually know their P&L, the profit and loss, right? Because, you know, how often do you get your tax refund and you look at it, turn around and you go, well, that's how much profit I've earned. Where is it? There's no money in the bank. Where is it? So one of my good mates, a plumber, and I think the world of him, and I just love how open and honest he is about things. He was working for the volume builders and has done for 30 plus years, and got to the point where he changed up his accountant and he learned to do things. And he sat down with this accountant and they went through the books, and 30-year relationships that he's had with these companies. He turned around and went, I'm not making any bloody money. I'm going backwards at a rapid rate. How do I tackle this? Because these guys, I want to support these guys. They've always supported me. So he went and had the conversation with the builders. It's all right, mate, I'll get somebody else. 30-year relationship. Instead of supporting him and helping him, they're going for cheap. What does that do? Like, he was so surprised, but he was also so grateful because he got the opportunity to restructure his business. But how do you know where your business is at, right? Until you get a different system in place. Now, I know you teach Profit First, which is an amazing accounting system so that people can actually understand it. Financial pressure is
the worst.
It is, bar none. Implementing Profit First inside every single one of your blueprint people, which is the access way to black belt, if people choose that, is a program that really helps a builder get his mindset up and running, helps him put together his opportunities to understand his clients from the start, and you implement profit first. Talk to us about profit first and why it's so important.
Why it's so important is because virtually no build, well, when I say virtually, no builder that we've put through our financial health process has been making $1 of profit, even though their P&L said that they were making profit. The profit first system looks at profit a different way. The profit that is measured in that system is the cash that's in a bank account, a separate bank account, in a shoebox, in a mattress, in a pillowcase, wherever, I think Wayno keeps his in tins in the backyard. I don't know. But it's cash that exists, that it's not earmarked to pay an expense. It's not earmarked to pay off your mortgage. It's only there to reward you for the risk and the effort and the sacrifice that you have made running your own business. And so it exists, and it's a great system because there aren't too many people. There aren't that many people that understand a P&L to start with. And those who do understand a P&L aren't motivated by a P&L. And I think you mentioned when you're talking about this that it's an accounting system, which is incorrect. So I'll correct you with that. It's perfect. Profit first isn't an accounting system. It works with your accounting system. So if you've got a Xero or a QuickBooks or whatever, that's the accounting system. But the profit first process is a way that is really, really easy for the business owner to understand their financial position really, really accurately. And as we said earlier on, all people make emotional decisions. We think we make logical decisions, but we don't. When it makes sense, we feel good and we make the decision. They're all emotional decisions. And the profit first system is a way that changes how you can see your financial position, and it influences how you feel about it. So it uses pain and pleasure to cause you to make the right decisions automatically, because when we have to make a decision through discipline, very few people make the right decision because discipline is necessary. So if you're making a decision, automatically you're making the decision that you feel like making. It just happens to be the right financial decision. Whereas most people make the financial decision that they feel like making, and it's the wrong financial decision. And that's, in a nutshell, what profit first does. It changes your emotional association to your current financial position, and you will automatically make better decisions. And if you do that correctly, you start making this profit that we talked about earlier, and it consistently increases and grows. And it takes away that financial distress. And that's why I'm such a proponent of it. I'm a fan, right? I'm a groupie of Mike Michalowicz. He's a good friend. He's a funny dude. He's an amazing business brain, and he is responsible for this. And we just talked about financial pressure being the worst. And if there is a system that can eliminate, and I'm not talking about reducing here, I'm talking about eliminating financial pressure, you'd have to be a wombat not to jump on it. Because if you can get rid of that financial pressure, what I find is when you've got financial pressure, the pressure of every other problem you've got is amplified. And when you take that financial pressure away, most of the pressure from all of these other areas of your life dissipates. Some disappear. So it's a great space to work in, and fundamentally, it's. I think most builders, it's the equivalent of driving around in your car with all of your instruments blacked out, painted over. So you don't know how fast you're going. You don't know what your oil pressure is. You don't know whether your battery's charging. You don't know whether your motor's overheating. So you could get a speed ticket, or you could blow your engine up, or, we need that information. And in fact, we're having a conversation with a Profit First professional next week about this very thing, because he is really, really concerned about the way builders measure their financial performance through a project. They don't consider everything for the most part. And the worst part is that they don't have a measurement tool that gives them as close as possible to real-time financial performance through the project. And he's talking, you need to know, at very worst, the worst case scenario, you need to know what the financial performance of any given project is week by week. That's the worst case scenario. Most builders don't know the financial performance of a project until the end of it. And what's normally the result at the end of it?
Not a lot's there.
My profit's gone. I've just made wages. I've had $1 million go through my fingers, and all I've done is made wages, and I've had all of this pressure and stress and risk and time I've had to put in, versus having a way of understanding what your financial position is at any given time. Like, I would suggest to you, figure out a system that will show you what your financial position is daily. Because if you do that, and the financial position isn't too well, on Tuesday, we can have a conversation on Wednesday morning to go, guys, this is the situation. We need to sort it. And it's like, you notice the temperature gauge getting a little bit hot. I think I'll just slow down and I'll pull over and I'll check. Oh, I'm out of, my water's low or whatever. And it stops the car from overheating and blowing up. If your gauges are all blacked out, over the side, tow truck, big cost, stress, all of that sort of stuff. And it's exactly the same for every single building project. And the trouble is, it's kind of out of the builder's comfort zone. I can't tell you how many people who have been honest with me, so I tip my hat to them about that. They say, I just don't want to know. When things are going bad financially, I just want to go into my cave and I don't want to know.
Yeah.
But you've got to know. And that won't happen if you know what's happening day by day. And I can hear a bunch of builders screaming right now saying, how do you bloody do? You can't do that. I haven't got time for that. Well, we'll figure out a way and we'll show you. If you join the conversation, because that's what we're really talking about today, is we need to have conversations. I was reading those conversations between builders just before we got on, and they're helping each other and talking about exactly what we're talking about right now. How do you do that? Well, I do this. Oh, that's great help. That made a lot of sense. Thanks very much. That's going to make a big difference to my business. That just happened on a digital conversation. These blokes have never even met each other. And they're helping each other with that exact problem. Same sort of thing with our main man, Matt, that we were talking about, having a conversation with him. And my response to him this morning is, we need to start a conversation about the problem of how we need to address rising costs in such a short space of time between quote and the purchase of materials and all that sort of stuff. Every problem has a solution. We've just got to get around the table and chuck crazy ideas at it. That's how we overcome everything.
And I love that. Right? Yeah, let's have a chat, because that's exactly what we're about, right? It's about, because it's interesting. You said something earlier that I do want to grab. It's human nature to move away from pain and towards pleasure, right? Understanding mindset is a big key to how to move forward. And if you know that is the case with a customer, with your sub-trades, with your family, what are you delivering? Are you delivering the pain that's inside you? because you got to put it somewhere, right? And how are you seeking your pleasure? How are you numbing yourself? It's a lonely world, the building industry. Don't let it be. You are your most valuable asset, bar none. Who's got your back? Who's helping you be the best version of you?
Yeah. And unless you're in a community, no one.
Yeah.
I don't know how many times I've spoken to our guys who have gone out to some sort of networking event or, builder event where there's just a bunch of builders there talking to each other, and they come back from that quite disillusioned because the builders aren't helping each other. Then the only thing that they tend to be sharing is the negativity and the blame, blaming out there. And
Wow.
Don't misunderstand me, that there are some circumstances that are conspiring right now that are making it quite tough, but they are circumstances. And if you choose to let the circumstances define you and push you around, well, what's the result going to be? But if the quote that comes to mind was one of the very early mentors that I used to read 35 years ago, Jim Rohn, who's since passed away. And one of his famous quotes was, "The wind of circumstance blows on us all. But it's how you choose to set the sail determines where you end up." And right at the start of COVID, when there was all of this uncertainty around, what did we do? We started a 1-hour conversation with all of our members 7 days a week, just so we could talk about what was happening. And initially it was just to hear and an outlet, like you do in the Safe Place to Land. It was just a place to have conversations. But then those conversations turned from frustration and panic and uncertainty to proactive. Oh, what if we did that? What instead of going, holy crap, people are cancelling or putting things on hold and now I haven't got any work and all that sort of stuff. We came up with the process or the idea of get out now, get ahead of this, start to talk to your prospects and start to talk to your customers and give them the heads up of what's about to happen. What is about to happen is that people are spending a lot of time at home. We're locked at home. We're not allowed to go out. And we're going to start to see the deficiencies in our house. We're going to want to improve this. There's going to be a lot of extensions, a lot of renovations. People are going to want to build a new house, all of that sort of stuff, because they hate their house. They've just spent too much time in it. And so there's going to be a lot more building projects. There's going to be a shortage of labor. There's going to be a shortage of materials. Prices are going to go up. We were talking about this in March 2020.
Yeah.
And we said, start to have conversations with your clients and your prospects and tell them what's going to happen. So what we need to do, instead of putting things on hold, we need to get out in front of it. We need to get your project happening now. We need to get it into council now, because there's going to be that glut and there's going to be big delays in council because there's so many applications and what have you going in. Let's get out ahead of that. And that's exactly what happened. And we had that conversation because my coach, because everybody needs a coach, and I've got a business coach who coaches business coaches. I was on a big community conversation with them, and a guy mentioned this. He said, "What happens with humans when there's a lot of uncertainty? When the group, the gang, the posse feels uncertain, they look to the person who has the most certainty. But that person might be a bloody idiot. That doesn't matter."
Yeah.
And I didn't say Donald Trump. I didn't say that. But when there's this massive uncertainty, people look to the person with the most certainty. And so if you believe that, go out and be the most certain person you can for your prospects and your clients. That's exactly what they did. And pretty much everybody in our group had the best. They've had the best 2 years in the last 2 years.
Yeah.
By getting out in front of it. Now we've just got to get out in front of these price rises. We've got to get out in front of what's going to happen as interest rates go up, and all, you know, and as the builders are starting to collapse. Like you sent me through a newspaper article the other day that said since April 2021, 342 builders just in Victoria were insolvent, 40 in March of 2022. Like that's one state. That's craziness.
And the flow-on effect from that is everyone. And like if people think that doesn't affect them, where's all the insurance coming from?
Yeah.
It's coming from government coffers.
Mm-hmm.
The builder's warranty insurance is a government agency that does a warranty on your house. Not only do you not get the builder that you chose to build your house, you get the builder that you're given to build your house. That's a scary prospect. So let's have some conversations, right? Let's get around it. Let's get together, because it only takes one person to come up with a great idea. But if that one person's involved in a community and we're all supporting one another, that idea can grow into anything. And I think that's what needs to happen. The more we talk, the more we do. So a plug, Mick, for your app.
Well, yeah, but before we do that, I just want to expand on what you said there, because it's super important about community. And because we're on the Campfire Project, I want to use a campfire metaphor. It's a metaphor I use quite a lot. And if there's 20 of us standing around the campfire, and Scott's the only one that you know, everyone comes to listen to Scott, and Scott brings an idea. And it's a great idea. 20 people walk away with one idea. But if 20 people are standing around the campfire and everybody brings one idea, and we go around the circle and we share our idea, everybody leaves with 19 extra ideas. And it's all well and good to belong to a community, and we'll talk about the app in a sec. Yeah. But if you're in a community like Campfire Project, don't be a bloody lurker. Like, get involved, get engaged, ask questions, make comments. The only comment I've seen so far come through tonight is obviously from somebody who knows us, because it says rough crew tonight.
Inaccurate.
So communities are wicked, particularly if the community is predominantly filled with contributors.
And I think that's something that's super, super important, right? Because in a community, if you don't contribute, we end up becoming all of these solos that are just individuals. We don't get to grow. We don't get to find new ways to deal with things. And I can appreciate at the moment that things are tough for so many people. But now more than ever, we need to actively look for communities we want to belong to, and we want to get involved in those communities, support, you know, and I'm a big believer in life is only life if it's lived. If you're not involved, what are you doing? Are you living, or are you just existing?
Yeah. Yeah.
Throw us over to the app, because before we go into the app, because it's and look, yes, there's blatant advertising tonight, and I'm not sorry about it, because we need to have conversations. This is a Campfire Project's about conversations. The building industry,
bit of advertising,
right? But building industry, more than any other industry, needs to come together now. Yeah. But you know, if we don't come together, what's going to happen?
Yeah.
Do you want to control your destiny, or you want someone else to do it for you? It's your call. So, app. Talk about the app.
The app is called the Builder's Toolshed. You can get it in the App Store or Google Play, or you can just jump on a web browser and find it. Look for the Builder's Toolshed, and it really just began as a replacement for Facebook groups, because people join Facebook groups for a specific purpose and they want to consume the content, but after a while, Facebook's algorithm decided that it would decide who saw what, and a lot of people weren't getting the content that they jumped in the group to get. So we bailed out of Facebook and we created our own app. And the beauty of that is, because it's not on Facebook, when there's a notification, it's a worthwhile notification, and it's about building, and it's about building or the building industry, some sort of construction business, but it's about principles and lessons and opportunities for a building business. So if you're a builder or a trades-based business, any notification you get in there is going to be valid and relevant to you and improving your business, rather than, getting notifications because Auntie Martha just took a picture of a lunch and bunged it on Facebook. After, if you get that many notifications, you just don't look at them anymore. But after we opened it up, like, we're really, really committed and pumped to make this the most valuable environment for builders out there. And not just builders, sub-trades get in there as well.
Yeah.
Be happy to have suppliers in there as well, so we can have conversations and start to understand each other. Because I don't know how many times I've overheard conversations or been in conversations where a sub-trade electrician or a plumber is talking smack about a builder, and builders are this and builders rip you off and da-da-da. And then, of course, the builders are pointing the finger at the sub-trades, and I don't believe either of those stories. I believe that it is because of the lack or the absence of communication and understanding and working together as a team that causes all of the problems, all of them. And there is absolutely zero benefit in blaming the builder or blaming the supplier or blaming the sub-trade. So if we can get everybody in this environment and start to understand each other's challenges and desires and frustrations and wants and aspirations, concerns, I think it'll start to make sense, and we can start to change how we do things and make everybody's lot better. And so that's what we're doing. We're putting a lot of effort into creating content. We put a podcast in there every week. We've just opened up a room called Life in Construction Conversations. Again, that's just a safe place to go and have a dummy spit if you need to have a dummy spit. Just open up about what your frustration is, what your fear is, what your concerns are. It's a place that doesn't have judgment, and it doesn't necessarily have solutions either. I mean, we don't always need a bloody solution. Just by explaining your perspective or your problem or whatever to somebody else, what I find is it's kind of like peeling a layer off an onion. The problem or the solution or whatever's right in the middle of the onion, and one conversation takes one layer off, and then someone will ask a question, and what do you mean by that? And you'll go, well, what I mean by that, another layer comes off, and you start to learn yourself. You start to be your own therapist to a certain extent, and just talking about it sometimes is the best outcome. So we're doing things like that. We're getting more and more, I don't know whether experts is a good a good word, but we're getting people joining in that aren't builders but are assisting. They're in there to lend their expertise in the areas of website marketing and profit first and all of those sorts of things. And whenever we find someone who is construction specific, like builder or trades-based business specific, that can contribute to the conversation, we try and get them into the tool shed so people can just jump in there and ask those questions, and you can get answers from experts instead of me making something up. If I don't have the answer, I'll make one up.
But I love what's happening there, Mick, and like I love being a part of it because it's so needed. It is just so needed. Support. I mean, it's having support can help you in so many ways. Having experienced support helps you get more direction quicker. I like that. On that note, Mick, I'm going to shut it down for tonight. We're well over the hour, but you and I
thought it was going to be 45 minutes.
Yeah, it was. That's what I was aiming for. But mate, we both know we can talk underwater. So,
yeah.
I want to say thank you, campers. I want to say thank you to those that watch this, because this is very much in alignment with the Campfire Project. It's very much in alignment with the communities that we're trying to build so that we can support one another. It's really time to get a part of to be a part of the conversation. I look forward to having more conversations in the Campfire Project. I look forward to having more conversations in the Builders Toolshed. We need to have them. Thanks, Mick. Thanks for coming up today and having a conversation, and at a timely point. I think it's really timely. Builders are really struggling at the minute, so we need to get around them. If you know a builder, let them know what we're doing. Let them know that this is here for them. There's bigger things coming for this as well. So, we together will grow. We together will just, be able to stand together through what is a very interesting time in life. Thanks, Mick. Thanks for your time. Thank you, campers. We're back next week for a conversation. Hopefully Angela's well enough and back on deck. So take care, people. Thank you very much, Mick.
Bye for now.
All right. Ciao, ciao. Where's that bloody button?